Hi. Just want to give you a little bit of a video about cravings and snacking, which might be helpful in changing your mindset about eating in between meals and how you think about it. Okay, so might be helpful to get a pen and paper for this, because I tend to put the idea of eating in, or the act I should say, of eating in between meals into 3 buckets. Okay, first bucket is eating in between meals because we're hungry. Okay, we have our breakfast, we're starving, we can't wait till lunch, we need something to eat. Okay, so that's one type of snacking, because we're truly hungry. Then there's another type of snacking, the second one, and that's because we want to. Okay, and that might be, for example, going to have a coffee with a friend and deciding to have a cake. Okay, and we all want to be able to have those sorts of snacks, because there's lots of lovely food in our lives that we want to eat, and our sort of favourite things, like cakes, crisps, chocolate, whatever. So it's things that we have made a conscious decision that we want to keep in our life because we enjoy them so much, we don't want to give them up. Okay. The third bucket of snacks is when we eat for other reasons than those first two, hunger or real conscious choice. And that's when we're eating mindlessly, or when we're using food as a way of suppressing an emotion, or as a coping mechanism, or to sort of mask something. And that's what we need to think about when we look at snacking as an overall thing. Can you identify, when you are eating something, which of those 3 buckets they fall into? Because that's going to really help you figure out how to make sort of snacks work for you, so you can include them in your diet. Because what we want to try and do is eliminate the need for snacks because you're hungry, so that means we have to be thinking about eating good quality meals, sort of nutritious meals, making sure our meals are big enough and they've got a decent amount of protein and veg, things like that make them filling. And if we do that, we can quite often find that we can get from one meal to the next without needing to eat something in between. So we want to try and work to eliminate that, okay? And that's not to say there will never be a time where your main meal doesn't work and you're still hungry. And in that instance, I'm never going to say be hungry and wait. If you need something, you need something. But we're just trying to make it so that most of the time we can manage to go from meal to meal without being starving and needing to rely on sort of lots of little snacks to keep our energy level. Okay. The second type of snacking that I mentioned, the wanting to, this is about making conscious decisions about the types of foods that are really important in our lives, that we don't want to give up, that we want to find a place for and keep a place for them. And that's where we then almost curate those things. What are the things that we want to be having in our life on a regular basis? Where do we have them? How much of them is a sensible amount to eat? And that can be a really powerful thing or strategy to get right. So I'll use myself as an example. I have a chocolate bar practically every day. It's not a big chocolate bar. It's just for context, it's 120 odd calories or something, like a little Kit Kat. But the very act of doing that every day means that I don't really have any cravings for any chocolate. But I know I don't want to give up chocolate because I enjoy it. So I'll make a place for it. But I don't just make a place for it, I make a ritual for it. In that it's a time where I have a coffee, have a chocolate bar. I have it usually at a set time of the morning when I can just take a bit of a break for work and really enjoy it. And that's really important, because we want to find a way of eating nice foods in our lives that we enjoy. Because the other type of food that we have, that mindless snacking that's got guilt attached to it, that might trigger more cravings, and we don't know why we're having it in the first place, or we feel bad when we're eating it, or we just hoovering it up and just sort of barely touching the sides. That's the sort of snacking that we want to then work to eliminate, because that's not actually helping us. So again, I'll use myself as an example, because this is something I've done a lot of work around. I eat when I am feeling anxious, or unsettled, or I'm maybe struggling with some work and feeling overwhelmed and not sure what to do, and I'll find that discomfort feeling of not, those uncomfortable feelings make me want to eat, and I'll quite often find that I'm eating something, not so much now, but in the past I would be eating and I had no idea why, and I was just having cravings, and it didn't really matter what I ate, I just wanted to eat something. But then I realised what my triggers were, and my triggers were anxiety, overwhelm, sort of trying to do difficult things and being unsure about what to do and being on my own. And we want to learn how to spot our triggers and then find out, well, what did we really need in that moment? So let's say there is a stressful incident and you suddenly realise that you're halfway through a biscuit. It's worth taking a little bit of a step back and trying to say, well, what happened then? How did I get to be wanting to have that chocolate? What happened before? And that was how I figured out the link between, for me, for anxiety and eating. And then we want to try and find other strategies to cope with that trigger. Because at the end of the day, if you're stressed, if you're lonely, if you're anxious, if you're unhappy about something, food isn't the answer. Okay, but it's very common in our lives that it becomes the answer, because it's just there, it's just easy, it's convenient, it works, it gives us a little bit of a shot of pleasure, a bit of distraction, and we find that can become a very deeply ingrained habit. We don't really know why we're doing it, but it's not going to solve the problem. So for example, if I were anxious or uncertain about or something to do from a work perspective, then I might need help, I might need a conversation with someone to sort of help me work out what to do, or I might need a break from work for a minute just to give myself a bit of time away to think about it. You get what I'm saying? So we want to try and start to look at those eating patterns where we're doing it to either hide or sort of suppress an emotion. It might be that it's a habit. We just had a client once who just had nuts on the counter, and every time she walked past, she just put her hand in them and ate nuts, and she didn't even think she was eating as many as she were, and it was just because they were there. Or it might be that you sat munching through a bag of crisps while you're watching a film, and you don't even notice that you're eating them. So really, that's a whole waste of food, calories, pleasure, because it's not actually registering. So if you think about those three buckets, we've got the snacking because we're hungry. We've got the snacking because we want to eat, make space in our lives for certain foods, and we've got this whole raft of snacking because we're not even sure why. If we eliminate the hunger and the mindless snacking, think about how many calories that strips out of your diet. Okay, we're replacing some of that with good nutrition in our meals, so that's going to be better for us overall. But you can see how by doing that and eliminating those two aspects of snacking, it's easy for us to then say, okay, well, there's going to be some certain foods, a bag of crisps, a bag of sweets, a little chocolate bar, that we can incorporate onto our diet on a regular basis and make some time to enjoy it. And that's the key thing. Once we understand what that thing is that we want to keep in our in our everyday diet, or it doesn't have to be every day, or once a week, whatever it would be, that we then are able to incorporate that into into our sort of daily eating habits without it being problematic. What's problematic is when we have too much of the emotional eating, or when we're substituting main meals for lots of snacks, and that changes the nutritional profile of our meals, that can cause blood sugar fluctuations, lots of cravings, and ultimately weight gain, because we're eating too many calories and more carbohydrates than we really need. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you think about snacking and reframing it, and help you to have some clues about the areas of work that you might need to do just to maybe help eliminate the unhealthy snacking in your life, which I can help you with. So I just wanted to sort of give you this video as a tool, as an introduction to this as a subject area, and it's something that we then can bring into our contact on a day-to-day, or our weekly check-ins, or or whenever you need to. So just try and work out some strategies to get rid of the unhealthy snacks and hone in on making it something that's sustainable, not problematic, and there's going to be something ultimately that means you can enjoy and eat foods without guilt and work towards your goals, because that's what we want to achieve. Okay, so hope that's given you some interesting things to think about, and I look forward to chatting about that with you in the future at one of our coaching sessions. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.